Nobody can see the numbers, so they don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
But
great.
welcome back to the Bridges We Burned. Burn.
Okay, good. Well, we've got our own self-echo going on. That's
All right,
wonderful.
dude. You got to ad-lib it sometimes, like the Migos' new album, Culture 3. Pick it up on Spotify and YouTube. This is not sponsored or paid for, but I do like that new album, so.
So it is, in essence, sponsored and paid for because we're listening to it and they're not giving us any money. It's not.
Yeah, they're not giving us any money, so we're not going to play anything because they're going to copyright us and shoot us down before we can get started. So
I was going to say, we get yelled at. I was like, this is all bad. There's no good.
Yeah, dude.
Don't play
There's
the
no good
Migos
to
on
that.
podcasts.
Yeah,
Don't play them.
I ain't doing that shit. I mean, we can because we have the headphones that we can listen to it and you can see our reactions. Or, well,
That's
you can't
true.
really
That would be
hear
an
our
interesting.
reactions.
That'd be an interesting experiment. We just sit here quietly and listen to music.
Just play the elevated music in the background. Just dun 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 dun. Oh,
bro, this shit slaps.
right, dude. So, hey, wait, man. I know you got some big moves going. So, how was your week? I mean, you probably had a stressful week, more stressful than me.
Nah, I haven't done anything of substance lately, man.
Okay, that new giant house you have. So I don't think that's not news at all.
Yeah, I'm finally in the house, man.
Finally, dude.
Finally,
Jesus.
it's been a long-awaited transition for me, but yeah, my first home, purchased, owned, and my name's on a deed and everything. It's fucking
Damn,
crazy,
dude. Yeah, my name's on that deed too. Whenever Alex gone, so nice.
Yeah, right,
nice.
yeah.
I'm not taking over any payments though, so not nice.
I was gonna say, yeah, you got to start chipping in here, all right? Like, no, it's great, man. It's a 3,400 square foot lot. Got a pretty decent sized backyard. The house is like 2,300 square feet.
That's pretty decent,
So it's
dude.
it's 2-story. It's nice. Yeah, I got my own master bedroom and bath and all sorts of stuff. It's I feel very adulty.
Yeah, dude. So for all the ladies listening out there, that's we're trying to help out. This man right here, 2,300 square foot house, single own master bedroom. Don't worry about it. I'll send you the address if you need it.
$410,000 appraisal. I'm just kidding.
Damn, dude, his credit score is fucking out the roof right now. You'll probably pick up some pretty decent ladies with that credit score.
It hasn't worked so far, so I'm hoping
because you're not flaunting it, dude. You're not flaunting it.
You're not flaunting it. I'm working on it.
When you meet somebody, the first thing you do when you shake your hand, you be like, "Yo, $790 off the bat. What's up?"
Hey, I got a $790 off the bat. What's up? You just walk up with people and look her down the eye. $790. What does that mean? It's my credit score.
You don't even have to say credit score. You just say $790. They start putting in their head like, well, that's not his paycheck. He dresses too nice. Then out of nowhere, boom, oh my God, it's his credit score. He can get into this club with his credit score.
I don't think no one's making that assumption, but yeah, you never know. No, I got a first date that I've had in a couple of years on Tuesday.
What? Yeah. Okay. I mean, this is a mystery lady, but she nice. She nice. Or he nice. Whatever floats your boat.
Don't make me come through this computer screen because I will whoop that ass. You already know I'll fly down to New Orleans just to knock the snot out of you.
Oh, I actually do need to get the snot knocked out of me. I'm feeling a little congested, so do your worst.
Stupid. I refuse.
Yeah, but no, going back to it. Yeah, this nice lady. Met her from work or what?
No. I was. I'm been going on the online dating sites.
What?
Dude, I got banned from OkCupid.
Wait, what's OkCupid?
On the second day that I was on it.
Why?
OkCupid is another one because I put a picture of one of the hikes that I had done that like I was looking out over the top of the ridge.
It's too dangerous.
I was turned around. No, it was like because it was like a pano shot of Turtlehead Peak, which is that view is awesome. That picture is badass because you can see all of Vegas Valley and then the Red Rock Mountains.
Yeah.
From like 7,000 feet, and I put that picture up, and the motherfuckers banned the account. So I got to remake the OkCupid account, which is like the most complicated one out of all of the. Well, I don't know about all of them, but the two that I've done so far. I did Bumble first. Don't do Bumble. Everybody that's out there listening, Bumble's a lost cause. It's like the poor man's Twitter. except for you have to wait for girls to talk to you, and it's like you match with people, you match with people, you match with people, and they have to be the first ones. The girls have to be the first ones to say something.
Oh, snaps. I mean, how about the other one? There's the other one.
They don't do that, bro.
What's the, I've heard about it in the past and like some other podcasts and stuff. There's actually one that's like for like the movie stars. I mean, I feel like they would have to look at it. Yeah, there's a couple of them, dude. There's like one elite, super elite one. Like you can like movie stars.
Oh, it's not. Yeah. That's no, it's I think you're talking about elite singles.
Yeah, something like that. Because like there was one. It was that huge story with the Ben Affleck and that one girl. Like the girl was just like, oh no, it's not really Ben Affleck, whatever. And then like Ben Affleck was like, hey, why did you unfollow me? It's like, oh snap! He was looking for love, dude. Rejected Batman was looking for love.
He was looking for love, dude. Yeah, no. The one that I've only done two so far. The first one that I did was OkCupid,
Okay.
or I'm sorry, was
Bumble.
Was Bumble, yeah. And then I talked to a couple of girls on Bumble, but nothing really panned out on that yet, except for that's the date that I have on Tuesday.
Oh, Bumble.
With one of the
exclusively Bumble. Okay,
so,
okay.
Right. Well, and then the OkCupid one's way better. It's a lot. There's a lot more like questions that you can see answers to, and descriptions and like bios. So you actually get like a sense of who people are, as opposed to like 4 pictures and 3 sentences, and then you're like endlessly swiping right, because that's just, you're basically going, is this person pretty or not? So so that one's a lot better. I was super bummed that they freaking banned me the first 2 days.
Maybe that like, image was too hardcore,
bro,
dude.
That's a cold
There's
shoulder.
a copyright on that image. You got copyright struck.
Well, like straight up playing with fire on those, because they definitely said you could possibly get banned if you put images of like being turned around, and I was like, nope, they were right.
Yep, there you go, dude.
So, yeah, but I put in an email to appeal it, so I doubt I'll ever hear back. I'm just gonna make another one.
Make another one, like, hey. But I guess it's working out, dude. You got your first date. Where are you gonna take this pretty lady at?
We're gonna go hit up Area 15.
Wow, dude. Don't tell her that you're working there. So just tell him like, yeah, this is a cool spot. And then when people start like, yo, Alec, what's up? We're like, yeah, what's up? I'm the Bruce Wayne of Area 15.
It doesn't matter if I work there. I was like, it doesn't matter if I work there or not. Most people haven't gone to it, and I don't work at Area 15. Like, right? I work near
you work
Area
near Area 15, but still,
So it's not like I'm working in the building, but I mean, yeah, I've been there 3 times now, but we're gonna go do an axe throwing thing.
Oh fuck yeah!
And
hey, you gotta let her stick a couple before you be showing off your fucking axe throwing skills. Okay, Thor.
Yeah.
Chill
No,
the fuck out with that.
I'm gonna go
Okay.
slow. I'm gonna go slow. All right. I'm gonna give her.
Maybe
some
throw it
practice.
backwards one time, so she'd be like, "Oh, it's okay. Me and him at the same level," and then kick it up a notch by like just throwing the axe through the board. I'm like, so what are your favorite hobbies?
It's like, no, I've never done this before.
He's like, I'm just gifted. So.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. Continue. All right.
Yeah, so
you can take her out to eat though.
Do the
Okay.
Yeah. So there's this restaurant. In there called the Beast.
The Beast. Damn.
Boy, oh boy.
Nice.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah. It is. It is something else. It is delicious.
All right, dude.
I went there a couple of weeks ago now to try out some, just because we were over hanging out, having drinks, and I went with a couple of buddies, and we went to that restaurant for dinner, and it was fantastic. Every single thing that we ordered, the drinks, the food, the ambiance of the restaurant was cool. They serve everything in like weird ways, so they had like cotton candy cheesecake that was like sitting on top of this big ass ball of cotton candy, and then they had peanut butter and jelly wings, but they brought them over on like sticks on like a carnival ride.
Okay, no, that's cool, because I was thinking about it. I was like, there's no fucking way gastronomy's gotten to that. No. And then I don't know where you're like, so it's more of like a it's hitting all your senses then, because the appeal and the look of it's gonna be like, yo, this shit's wild. Peanut butter jelly wings. They stole that from Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, by the way, fans. So I'm just saying,
right, 100%.
they got it
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Yeah,
$80
dude.
million cook-off. Yeah, dude, they were
Shit.
slamming though. Yeah, no, we got a full rack of ribs and then some peanut butter and jelly wings. We got this octopus corn dog thing. It was pretty wild looking. It was all sorts of wild shit, dude. It was, and the drinks.
Man, you
were
can start talking
awesome.
about this kind
Have
of
2
food now,
drinks.
one, or just fly back out there before my next prep
Yes.
starts. Like, geez.
Sorry, buddy. Dude, that's the best part about living on this side of town, Blue Diamond and Fort Apache. We have been screwing up for so long while we were out there. All of the mom and pop places are down here, dude. There are so many.
All right, when I come back down there,
on
when I
this
come
side
back
of
down there
town.
to visit, dude, that's the only place we're going. Exclusively,
I'm
only
trying
down
to.
there. So,
Well, I finally got the green light, man. I signed up with
Yeah.
that personal trainer,
Fuck yeah.
right? So I start that next week. I was talking to the personal trainer about dietary stuff because it's like a pretty legit customized plan over there. They do a custom dietary plan. They do a custom workout plan based off of like your actual mobility and flexibility and strength at the time. So you go through an assessment and do all this kind of stuff, answer a bunch of questions. But calorically, I got cleared for like 3,000
yeah, dude, that's
calories a
good
day.
still. I mean,
With 5 days of workouts a week. So like 3 on, 1 off, 3 on, 1 off, basically. And luckily I got this fancy ass watch that's been telling me my average caloric intake for like the last 3 months
it's
now.
a
So we got a
super
pretty good
help.
basis.
I mean, like once you start, I mean, you're already pretty good. You're already pretty decent, like tracking macros. It'll just be more finely in tune because now you have somebody backing you. Like, hey man, like you really need to need to focus and hone on this if you really want these goals to actually come to fruition. So that's pretty good. That's really good that you have like a trainer that's there. You know?
Yeah, it's. Well, and I mean, it's a take on what we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, right? It's a take on starting to hone in and focus on like the direction that you actually want to be moving in, as opposed to where we were before, where we had this conversation earlier this week, right? When we were just starting out, the important part of making this thing work was moving.
Yeah.
Right? It was just moving. Just going somewhere. Stop standing still. Stop letting everything pass you by. Just start walking in any direction. It doesn't matter. And over the last couple of years, that's made a tremendous impact on my life, and I want to say on your life as well. I don't think you would disagree with that. And
oh no, not one bit. Not one bit, dude. I'm fucking strong.
That's
now,
kind of
so.
where. Right, that's kind of where we get to like the topic of what we want to talk about today, right? Which is sacrifices. We've gotten to the point now where we've walked far enough where we can the path is narrowed. Like we can see where we want to go now. We have an idea of we know what we're targeting. It's not just like I want to lose 120 pounds. I want to like be happy. It's not these huge massive goals anymore. Now it's okay. I still want those things. Those intentions are still important. I still want to be fit. I still want to be happy. But now I know what I have to do in order to get to point A, in order to get to B, to C, to D, to E, and make that happiness be realized, right? So, yeah, that personal trainer for me is finally approaching like a real targeted direction, and creating a game plan with somebody that knows what they're talking about. And actualizing it, right? Being in the gym. Another one of the things that I've wanted to do for a while is start working out in the mornings instead of working out in the afternoons. So 6 a.m. workouts, starting out 3 times a week on top of the yoga and stuff that I normally do. And making that dream of being a fit guy, being a guy that's in shape with six pack and is chiseled, turning that into a reality instead of it just being an intention.
Yeah, the intention or
now,
like
right?
a wish, like it's not gonna. You can't wish all your entire life and then just be down and like, you know what, I've never gotten there. I'm like, well, you've never gotten there because you never had that push. But now you like once you start moving and you move in that towards a direction, and then you have somebody to back you, like your own coach, your personal coach is like, fucking here for you. Let's do it. I'm gonna give you the keys. I'm only gonna give you the keys and the tools that you need now, and you just keep pushing. You keep modifying. I think.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you got to be the one that opens the doors,
dude.
but I'm gonna show you which ones to go at, right? Like that's the main.
That's the main difference. I think that's the one that gets people. It's like it's so misconstrued, and then because there's a lot of things now in media, right? And either it's fitness or for socially or like for your mental health, that you can do all these things. You can read about all these articles, you can watch all these videos, you can watch other people do it, or you can take like your advice from like veterans doing it, right? But like that's all great. The more knowledge that you can obtain is more power to you. The only thing is you being able to actualize it and follow through with one single plan, just at first, to start it rolling. Because you can take in like,
Right, right.
you can take in like 50 different ways, but then I don't know, at the end of the day, you're still stuck at step one because now you're consumed with all this information and knowledge and you can't piece it all together. So
I think that comes
yeah,
with time
of
and
course.
experience and practice, though, right? The ability to focus on one thing at a time is a lot more deceivingly difficult than most people let on. To really, truly do that and actually mean that, and when I say mean that, I mean to do it honestly with your
Yeah.
own mind, to be able to cut through the noise, and right? The first time that you're able to actually do that, right, there's a quiet that comes over you, right? When you're able to kind of just breathe in and let go of everything else and focus, it's silent, except for the thing that you're doing. It's very, very different from what I was able to do 3 years ago when I thought that I would focus on one thing. I'd set one goal and then remember, I got to do the dishes and I got to do laundry. And like, oh yeah, I forgot. I've got to do this thing for work. And then I get distracted by my phone because I was on YouTube. And like that where I wanted to be was still rolling around in my head, but it wasn't the focus of my intention, right? The difference now is that even when I'm doing other things, right? So I have frequently adopted lists like you would not believe. I swear by them right now. I have had such a difficulty my entire life of being able to memorize small little things, big concepts, and things that are really important. I can lock on and hold on to for a really long time. But little stuff floats in and out of my head constantly. And I think a direct result of this meditation, this practice of concentration, this practice on modern westernized Buddhism and Stoicism has really helped me put into perspective the ability to concentrate on very small things and on my own perception. And that has allowed me to recognize that, like, I have failures, I have weaknesses, I have areas where I lack strength in, and I have to compensate for those. The lists is one for me that absolutely facilitates my own growth because I put stuff down and I can go back and I can look at it. Even the small stuff, like I've been thinking about this for the last week and a half or so about seriously like going back and getting my master's in psychology. And I was sitting in the car earlier today and I just was sitting there thinking, and I was like, what would be like a really great way to prep for that? Like to get my head a better understanding about what, actually would be involved with clinical psychology, and how would I go about that preparedness? What would be the process of like going through almost like an undergraduate degree, but doing it by myself? I was like, okay, well, I could go over to UNLV when the semester starts up. I could look at their course catalog. I could find a couple of courses that I thought were interesting, and then I could go and get the course curriculum and the books for that semester. And I could go research those books, get those books from either the store or online, and I could read those books and do that myself. That's basically how I did in philosophy in college anyways. Most of the classes that I went to, I was unless I really liked the class, I was absent from a lot because I would just do the readings and then ace the courses. So I could do that same thing, and it just kind of clicked in my head. I was like, that would be really cool. And I wrote that down on a list, and now that's concrete. That idea is somewhere where I can go back and look at it along with all my other things that I need to do. That changes a lot for me. It lets me keep track of the fact that I'm thinking about these small little things, and it lets me put them into reality and say, this is something that I want to do. This is something that's on my to-do list now. I'm going to look at this every day, and it's going to bleed into my subconscious, and I'm going to become more active and more aware, and I'm going to start thinking about this on a regular basis, and that's going to take me farther.
Yeah,
and
I
push
mean,
me
like
forward.
it's like the list for you, and then like for me, like I think about it, like like with how I go about through work and stuff. Like when I plan for things, like I have my outline, right? I have my timeline, for work is a little bit different because like you're it's very time sensitive. But like for this, at least that list, I mean, you can make it as time sensitive as you want, but it's just one of those things like, like we just do it a little bit differently. Like it's fucking great that you do it with lists. And I'm like, while I'm listening to you talking about it, I'm like, well, how do I do, what do I do that I don't need to think on the spot? Like, what do I do that subconsciously don't even think about doing? It was like, well, it's my outlines, like back in the day, like for catering and stuff, like we make outlines and make sure like, all the eggs are in the same basket. Everything's, cross your T's, dot your I's, all that stuff. I mean, well, it's kind of adapted into like my work play. Right. Work play, outside of work play. And now like, moving into this, trying to like semi-profession of like lifting is just like, it's the same thing. It's like my timeline and I write everything down so I can look back at, okay, well, this is what this was at this percentage. How did that feel? Which is really great because like the program that I'm on, there's a journaling section, so I can write down exactly what I felt and like what ached and what what I needed to strive for. So when I look at it and when that silence does come, right, when you're focused on it and you're doing the movement, like for me, it's like doing the movement, and it just quiet that. Okay, then out of nowhere is like I finished the movement, like well I did it, I can do it now. So it's just one of those things, So either a list, chart, timeline, anything above, as long as it helps you focus and like really obtain and really want to like there's certain ways, certain things that there's gonna be a sacrifice to those things, right? Like what you talked about, which happens to me on a day-to-day basis, is like like I gotta do this, and I know I pick up my phone, I'm looking at YouTube, I'm like, oh shit, it's not like losing your train of thought, but now out of nowhere, like the actual goal in line, I'm like, well, I'm supposed to do this today, but then I got so there's these little sacrifices, and those sacrifices just keep.
Well, let's not. I don't know if we want to confuse that term. I don't.
Really that's true.
That little thing as a sacrifice. Yeah. You're mainly talking about distractions, right?
Yeah, distractions and sacrifice. I mean, like for me, like where I wanted to go with it was, we'll touch up a little bit later. Is for like not actual. Well, yeah, actually, it is sacrifices for me, like for the overall goal. So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Well, no. So yeah, I was gonna say we can roll into that. We can roll into it right now, honestly. But what I was gonna roll with was that anything that you can do to actualize your goals, right? Anything that you can do to bring into reality and to concretize what it is that you think in your head, right? That is a beneficial thing. To put pen to paper or to put thumb to phone and put that into a list is a powerful tool. You are creating purpose and intention in your life, and you're following through with it to a point where you're saying, I care about this enough to actually bring it forth from the inner turmoil that's in my head onto a page, into existence, outside of my own psyche, and that you're literally bringing that thing into the world. And I think that has a massive, massive psychological impact on the way that you go about your day, because now you are able to go back and refer to that thing, right? Like the lists or the outlines, whatever it is, you use those as a guide tool. You use those as checkpoints along the way, and where you can go, okay, I've done this. Now what's next, right? It gives you structure. It gives you a plan. And on top of that, it gives you boxes to say, I did something today, right? I did this, and I didn't do it for anybody else. I did it for me. And that compounded over a couple of years changes the whole way that you see the world, and it changes the way that you see yourself. I will attest to that firsthand. I was talking with Irvin and Jesse and Theron last night, and I was just saying, the biggest change that I've seen in myself over these last 2 years, it's not physically, it's not the fact that I've lost 75 pounds, it's not the fact that I'm working in a career that I never thought I'd be in, that I have a house that, right? It's none of these things that other people would point at and say, wow, look at that change in your life. The biggest change that I've experienced is the faith that I have in myself. Like, I was talking to Irvin last night. I was like, in 6 months, I'm going to have abs. Like, in 6 months, I'm going to be at 215 pounds. I'm going to be shredded. And I believe that with absolute truth. I don't even have a shadow of a doubt in my mind that I'm going to get to that goal because I trust the fact that I have developed enough to move forward. Like, I know at this point that, like, I will work towards that goal because it's not just something I want to do anymore. It's part of who I am. And that is so, I cannot tell you how crazy it is to go back, right? I've been making journals and doing recording sessions of myself for the last 2.5 years. I cannot tell you how crazy it is to go back and listen to the Alec that was 325 pounds and the difference in the way that I speak about just myself is like, it's night and day. It's literally night and day. And it's crazy. It's crazy to think that just by giving a shit about other people, by giving a shit about myself, by really, really trying to just take this vision that I had of making the world a better place and applying it to my own life in very small ways, just to make what I could better, right? Just to impact what I could change. That has changed everything for me. And again, I think that these lists are the newest and most powerful tool that I've come across in remembering that, in putting down all those grand concepts that I used to have, and getting them out into the world. But the other part too of those things is it helps you take care of the small things that get in the way, right? The distractions, like, I got to iron my clothes. I got to do my loads of laundry. I have to take these things to my parents. I have to do the dishes today. I like all the little, I see laundry is like the easiest one. I don't.
Oh
like
no.
dishes.
If I could turn my camera around, which I can, it just, dude, laundry. It just, that's why I just need to hang everything. If I hang everything, I don't have to fold anything. I'm even going to hang my underwear. I don't care.
Why are you folding everything? Oh my God, Mark, you should see my
Well, no,
closet,
but I have to
dude.
fold, like, like my workout shirts. I'm not going to hang them.
Mark, I don't want to make you feel bad, but I'm not going to under-exaggerate this. My closet is literally the size of your room.
That's tight.
It's so obnoxious. It's like I'm gonna put up a gun rack in there. I'm gonna make it.
Jeez.
I'm gonna do some things in that closet. But dude, there's so much room for activities. I could literally go in there and do a full workout.
Dude, you could do a full workout. I mean, like, just imagine just like one day, like, while like you come home and then you're just chilling and then you're making some food and then Sierra and Therium, like, somebody just unlocks the door. I'm like, who's that? Oh, I'm subleasing my closet. Don't worry about it, dude. Yeah, that's Jason. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
I'm leasing my closet. It's like guest bedroom, shared bathroom. Like, it's like, oh, this sounds like a pretty nice deal. Where's the room at? Here, I'll show you.
My closet.
Oh, wow, this he's walking to the master bedroom. Wow, this is really nice. No, this isn't it. You just walk through the bathroom. It's like, dude, this is a closet. Yeah, but it's only $400 a month. Fucking, I'll take it.
Dude. Yeah, no, but yeah, that's dope. Like, I mean, see, that was a distraction. Me saying laundry, we just talked about shit.
Yeah, but not all. That's the other part too. Is it's like you gotta have patience with yourself for this stuff, dude. Because you're never ever gonna get out of being distracted at least a little bit, right? Maybe you wind up being some insanely wise Stoic philosopher or Buddhist practitioner or like gypsy yogi, like whatever. And at some point in the future, you're able to live your life completely undistracted. Yeah. But I think that actually sounds almost kind of boring.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
there's a level of genuine randomness in the universe that I think isn't necessarily so random. There are instances where you run into people and new things that you would have never ever found by yourself, and it just happens by serendipitous events that you run into this stuff. And I think that at its own level is a level of distraction as well, and I think that that's healthy. I think that is distraction keeps you present in the world, right? When you get distracted, you come back and you're like, oh, I was distracted. I need to pay more attention. It's kind of like how fear and courage work in the same thing. I don't think you can have focus without distraction. Yeah. So it's not a bad thing. Too much distraction.
It becomes that slippery slope. Yeah.
Right. When distraction obfuscates your ability to move forward, that's when distraction is a bad thing. But I don't think that it is something that you are ever going to be able to eliminate entirely, nor that you absolutely want to. But yeah, I mean, we can kind of roll this up into, I guess, the next portion of this, which is like, okay, so now you've gotten past this stage of getting distracted all the time. You've gotten past this stage of moving, right? Like, I've gotten to a point with my life where I'm doing good for myself. I'm doing the right things. I'm moving in the right ways. And now I'm confused as to where to take that next. Like, I know that I'm not doing the wrong things, but how do I narrow down the right things? How do I find what the next thing is, right? I think that's something that plagues me constantly. Not as much in the last probably 6 weeks as it did prior to that, which is a very recent advancement, but which I contribute a lot to Angela and the life coaching sessions that I've been doing. But the ability to start to narrow your focus, and stoicism, honestly, the How to Think Like a Roman Emperor, Donald Robertson, Marcus Aurelius Meditations. Holy shit. If you pick up a book this year, please carefully read through those, because there is a manuscript of how to make your life 150% better than it is right now, and it is accessible on all platforms. But being able to pick what it is that you want, right? Find your intentions, right? Find the things that you want to bring into the world, and to actually know them. Not to just have these random floating ideas. Like, this is something I worked on a couple of weeks ago with Angela, was narrowing down what it is that you want, and not just, I want to be happy, right? Okay, how do you want to be happy? Where do you get that happiness from, right? What is it that you can attain to be happy? To think about those things genuinely, and to write down 2, right? What are the 2 things that when you are dead and gone, right, on your dying bed, what were the 2 things that made the most importance in your life? What are those 2 things? If you don't know the answer to that, then you're just going through the motions of what it is that you're doing here. You have to be able to answer these questions for yourself. It's part of growing up. It's part of being a human being, is you have to give life to your own life. You have to give purpose to your own purpose. And in order to do that, you have to know what it is that you're looking for. So you got to sit down, you got to get dirty, and you got to figure this shit out. And this has been one of the things that I've really been digging into for the last 6 weeks, is what are the things that upset me about where I am? What are the things that I have to break? What are the chains that I have to break in order to obtain real freedom in my life? And there are a couple of them for me. My weight is one. That's one of the last really major chains that I have. The second one is finding a career that brings me purpose, right? I like what I do. It's an interesting job and it pays very well, but it's not who I am, right? It's a fun job, and it intellectually stimulates me. It's not who I am. And I know that I could be more than what I am there, right? That's another chain for me that I have to break. That's a big chain. It's going to take a lot of time in order to break that one. But I know that that's another one. And I think the last one for me is to find someone that is a real, genuine human being, of the female persuasion, and to develop a relationship, to build a real relationship, and to have a partner, right? Those are 3 very large chains that I would like to let loose on my life. And I've given purpose to those things. I've written them down. Those are goals that I am aiming to achieve. Taquito.
He's gone now.
I
think he's gone.
Okay. Sorry, people. We have puppies.
Yeah. You gotta love them. You gotta love them.
Yeah, you do gotta love them. But I mean, that took me literally 3 weeks to put that stuff, like to even get journal entries about it.
Yeah.
I had to go through 3 weeks of journal entries, writing every day or multiple times a day about what was bothering me and where I wanted to aim my perspective and who I thought that I should be and what were these overarching intentions that I wanted to color everything that I do. I wanted to color my goals. And for me, it's I think it's compassion and wisdom. Those are the two things that I want to color every single thing that I do in my life. Right. But it's subject to change too. It's not something that's finite. It's just what I think right now.
Yeah.
But you put those goals into work. Okay. So now you've got this. Now you've got, all right. So I want to act with compassion and wisdom. I want to achieve these 3 goals. I've set the platform to where I want to go. I've set my gaze, right? This is what I want to achieve. Now, how do I get started? Where do I go? How do I achieve that? Okay. Weight loss, personal trainer. I'm at the end of my rope with this. I've been stuck at around 250 pounds now for the last 2.5 months. I've been working out a lot. I've been eating fairly well, but I'm seeing results physically as far as like my musculature and all that, but I'm not actually losing weight. So I'm at the end of what I can do. I have to ask for help. That's a step. That's a step in the right direction. And it's going to get me to where I need to be. That's an actualizable goal. That's something that I can say, yes, that's the next step. So I took that one, right? The career, finding a career that I want to do, getting my master's in psychology. That is the next step of that, right? Night school, studying up, maybe doing some undergraduate studies over the next year or so and figuring out what it is that I want to do and having a game plan. That's the next step for that, right? Getting onto these online dating sites, starting to put myself out there, starting to talk to women and introducing myself back out into the world of social media and all this shit. That's how I build into that relationship. Those are goals that I am now moving towards, all because I took the 3 fucking weeks to sit there with them and say, how do I get to where I want to be?
Yep.
And it brings you an immense amount of comfort, right? I feel good right now. I feel like I'm moving in all the places that I should be. And I don't have to think about it as much. I don't stress about it as much. I don't have to worry about all the other shit that everybody else is putting on their plates or the opinions that they have. I just have to do me. I have to do me. And at the end of the day, as long as I keep doing that, I'm Gucci, right? Like, that's it. But those 3 things, this is your sacrifice thing that you want to talk about, right? Are going to require very large sacrifices in my life, right? I'm going to have to give up a lot of the yoga that I do in order to do the personal training sessions, in order to do the weightlifting and the sculpting, because that's not what they do at the place that I'm going to. That's not the way that I'll achieve what the body style that I'm looking for is not, unfortunately, not through yoga.
Yeah.
As much as I love the practice for the spiritual and the mental and the physical parts of it, it's just not going to give me the physical access. So I have to make sacrifices with something that I love there. The psychology degree, I'm going to have to lose a lot of time in order to do that.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to wind up eventually quit.
Yeah.
Time, money, I'm going to eventually have to quit the job that I'm at and leave those people behind. Those are huge sacrifices. And then, of course, finding a relationship, getting back out into social media. You know how I feel about all that. I hate that world. I hate it. I don't like being out.
That's already in
the
itself.
public
Like,
eye.
that's like straight up like sacrificing a bit of yourself, of what you believe in, because that's one of the goals that you want to achieve.
Privacy.
Yeah, so.
Right. It's my privacy. I'm not an introverted person, but I don't like to have to deal with the opinions of the rest of the world. It's just, they're distractions for me. And social media is a major distraction. And it's something that is necessary though in our day and age. In order to communicate with people effectively, you have to be on these platforms. I mean, you can go up and walk up to people and talk to them at bars and things like that. But honestly, I don't even understand that logic at this point in time, because if I can go onto like something like OkCupid or Match.com, which I haven't done anything like that, and I can look at people who are genuinely interesting and read what they think about life and answers to questions that they pose and what they've done and their philosophy is like, why would I not do that? Why would I not want to learn more about these people that I'm approaching instead of just going for this, finding some random girl at a bar and walking up to her and hoping that pans out as far as a date goes, and then wasting whatever amount of money and time if that doesn't work out. I think it's a better approach for sure. I think it's a much more modern approach. But again, that's another thing that takes time. It takes time to go through and talk to people, and shit's not going to pan out, and not everybody's going to be what you think they are, and there's sacrifices there too. But I'm okay with all those things because, right, the whole is the fucking goal. Being the best version of myself at the end of the day, that's what I'm striving for, and that's what I'll achieve. I know I will, but it's going to take loss in order to meet that gain. So like, I'm okay with that. I think I'm pretty good with that. But let's talk about your side, because I feel like I haven't shut up now for like 8.5 minutes, and people have already tuned off the podcast. So
no, dude. I mean, I'm tuned in. It was just like, man. I mean, like my sacrifices aren't that big, but they're big to me.
Subjective.
Subjectively big.
I was like, it's not. This is. I want to say this, okay?
Like this
quit jiggling your boobies. I was like, quit jiggling the boobies. Oh, not just one boobie. Oh, 2 boobies. There it is. Those pectorals. This is something. This is a good little segue.
Yeah.
So Jesse's lost 10 pounds.
Ooh. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
He stopped drinking. He's lost 10 pounds. I was super excited to hear that yesterday. Him and Irvin came over, and they were helping us. They were helping us put stuff together. Jesse helped me build the bed that's behind me. Well, helped me. Jesse built the bed, and I stood there and supervised him.
Well, yeah, dude. What the?
Right. But they were great yesterday. I mean, they were sober the whole day. We were over. We were all hanging out. We were talking about life and whatever. And we got out front. Jesse was getting ready to leave, and he was like, man, he's like, I'm on this last part of RuneScape, right? He goes, I'm playing. There's one piece of this game left that I haven't done. Literally one item in this game that I haven't gotten. And he's like, I feel like when I get that, I can close a chapter of my life, and I can like move forward. I can do something else. And Irvin's like, man, that's fucking stupid. It's a video game. He's like, just you can not play the video game. And I was like, that's.
But that's
like,
different,
don't listen
though.
to him.
Yeah. I would say
don't.
the same thing. I wouldn't listen to somebody that doesn't understand the greater. Well, he probably understands it differently, but like, you can piece that. Like, you just explaining that. Like, if he's on the last part, right? If you took a step back and look at the bigger picture, and him saying, I feel like I'm on the last part that I just need to get, and I can finally close this chapter of my life to start something new. That's a huge step from the guy that I knew.
Yeah,
right? That's
absolutely.
a giant
and
step. So
what I said to Jesse was, I was like, look, man, it's not important what it is that gets you moving forward, right? It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about the path that you're walking, right? If it's important to you, if it's a goal that you can achieve that makes you move, that is all that matters, man. That's it. If it's beating that game, beat that fucking game's ass. Pummel it to the ground and then put it away. And move, but make a promise to yourself, right? Don't just make it a. We so often do this thing in our heads where we say, tomorrow I'm going to be better, right? Like, if I just finished my laundry, I would be able to go out and go do this thing, right? If I could just finish my work tomorrow, I could take a vacation this weekend, right? We always put off these things that make us better, that move us forward to the next thing, right? It's always the next. I'm trying to think of a better way to put this, but we delay. We delay our own happiness by.
Well, for me, I feel like when you for me, the way I'm understanding it is like, because we all, like, not all of us do this, but it's like. You're that delayed gratification, like for me, it's like I can understand is just like, well, I'm only delaying it with these subpar excuses that I think of in my head, right? Like that example that you just said is like, I can finally go outside, do all this other stuff as soon as I fold my laundry. Well, if I'm gonna sit there watching it, like right now, I'm literally looking at my laundry. well, I'm gonna be here forever. I'm gonna be here because I'm gonna
Right.
leave
I was
that. I'm
gonna
gonna
say,
sit there. It's gonna sit there and be stale. And I gotta do the whole process over and washing it again.
yeah,
So,
here, right. It's like I can't go to the gym until I fold my laundry. And then you make up 35 excuses to not fold your
and
laundry.
they're
and then
always
you don't go to the gym.
subpar. They're not like
Right.
they're not like
And then
one of those
but
things, you know.
But that's the thing, right? Is at the end of the day, right? Like I said, you do 35 things in order to avoid folding your laundry, and you predicate going to the gym, right? Being better for yourself on folding that laundry, but you avoid that thing that you're trying to use as that stepping stone, and now you're not going to the gym, right? That is a small metaphor to what that story about with Jesse is. I think it was for me for a very long time is I would constantly set the next goal, right? I'm going to start this next thing after I complete this other thing.
Yeah.
And then I would never complete that other thing.
Yep.
I would try and use the goal as a motivation to complete that stupid thing that I didn't want to do, and then I would never do that stupid thing, little thing I would do, and then I would never do the thing that I wanted.
Yeah, that's oh man.
Right.
Yeah, so many
Jesse,
sleepless nights with those.
Yeah, I told Jesse, I was like, look, man, it's awesome to hear you say that. It really, truly is. Like, it makes me happy to hear you say that. But don't let that be a lie to yourself, right? Don't let that be an excuse that comforts you and say, you know, when I beat this last thing on RuneScape, then I'm going to change. Don't say it like a hopeful thing. Say it as a promise.
Yep.
Right? When I beat this next part of RuneScape, I'm going to close this chapter of my life and move forward. There's intention to that. Now you've set a goal. You've made a promise to yourself. It is very different than, oh yeah, well, I feel like the next time that I do this, like if I do this thing on RuneScape, that I'm going to be better.
No, yeah.
It's not an I feel like. It's a I will, right? Give it power. Give it life. Give it purpose. And then you'll wind up where you want to be at. But again, right? That's a sacrifice for Jesse. And it's probably not a big deal to a lot of other people to give up playing RuneScape. Anyone that knows what RuneScape is, it's not a fucking problem to give it up, right? It's like one of the oldest games that still exist. It's got the shittiest graphics in the world, but it's a comfortability zone for him, and it's something that he loves. And it doesn't matter if nobody else loves it or understands it, right? It's something that he loves subjectively. So that's a huge sacrifice for him to give that up. He's giving up something that he loves so that he can be better towards himself. I don't give a hell who you are. That's fucking amazing that you're willing to actually care that much, that you give up something that you love in order to
start something
be better towards yourself. That's huge. So when you say, oh, my sacrifices aren't that big. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. I was like, your sacrifices are just as big as the ones that I'm making, as long as you're making them honestly.
That's true.
As long as you're trending towards something that you really desire, and as long as you're not making those sacrifices to just say that you're making them, right? It's not about, I'm not doing this to be a braggadocio, right? I'm doing this to find peace. I'm doing this to find happiness. I'm doing this to engender change in a world that I want to see grow. I want to see get better. Right? I want a world that I want to see obtain more compassion and more wisdom. That's the reason why I move forward. And that's what it is. It's not about anything beyond that. I'm not in it for the financial gain. I'm not in it. Right? If I needed financial gain, I'm doing pretty fucking well right now. I've got a house and it's filled with things that I want, and I've got a nice car, and I've got a great job, and I've got a family who loves me. Like, it's not about all of those things. Yes, those things make my life better, and yes, I'm so grateful to have them, and I wanted them forever. But I don't want to just keep adding to that. I don't want to just keep more stuff and more money. That's not the part that I've discovered that's important. The part that I've discovered that's important to me is helping other people get to where I am right now. That's what makes my life feel complete. That's what gives me purpose. And that's why I want to sacrifice. It doesn't have to be some noble thing that you're chasing after. It just has to be something that you honestly and genuinely want. And that's really what it is. If it's, I want to be a power lifter, fucking badass, dude. I want you to be a power lifter. I want you to go chase that dream. You don't have to change the world with it, right? You just have to make your life whatever it is that you want it to be. that's what I want for you. That's what I want for everybody. So yeah, don't say my sacrifices are little. It's not true.
Well, I mean, okay, the way they need to explain it for me when I think of little sacrifices, it's for my health. So I'll explain it. I'll explain it in the bigger things.
I was like, now if you're gonna come back and be like, I stopped eating Hostess donuts, yeah, that's a little fucking sacrifice, okay? Like it's like I stopped inhaling donut holes for breakfast.
Well, I wish I could have donuts for breakfast. Damn.
Yeah, you and me both, buddy.
It will eventually happen,
I haven't had a donut in so long.
Happen. Dude, I ordered the donut earlier, but yeah, I'll talk about that later on after. We'll sidebar that donut talk because I gave some to Carlos and he was like, "Yo, what the fuck?" But yeah.
Get in there, nice and deep black.
Yep. So, well, no, for me, like after our 90-minute interview with you, it's about to do my 5-minute interview outro for me.
Sorry,
oh no, dude,
everyone.
it's good, dude. I'm telling you, when we have end credits and all this stuff, and then you decide to make a book, this is gonna be the best part of the book because I'll have the first page and the last page, and then dude, the book is gonna be a #1 seller.
I'll have the first page and the last page.
Yeah, no, but for me, all right. So I think what the past week was been set aside work. Work is always work for me. Like I love it. I love my work. People think I'm crazy for it, but I fucking love it. But like I had to make a very difficult decision, and I find it was a sacrifice on my part. It's because I had that itch, like after my meet, like I really want to do another competition and I want to compete and I want to get my numbers up and I want to get these goals and have my checklist on point and just start smashing these little checkpoints that I had. I want to keep going, moving forward, and I really, 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 really want to feel that accomplishment, right? At the end of the podium. So there was this meet that was in line for, that will qualify me for nationals. Started training for it right off the bat. Like as soon as the last meet was over, I started getting comfortable with the weight that I was at, and it was perfect because from there I can only get stronger, right? I mean, I could take some leisurely breaks and then still go at it because now I'm at my ideal weight.
You just missed the nationals qualifier. Like you hit 4th place in that last tournament.
Yeah, you
needed to get 3rd place.
Well, no,
to qualify for nationals.
By that it was to qualify for it. It was actually it's by weight lifted, right? Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, you have to. Okay, right. With all 3 of your
yeah,
a
certain amount of totals. Right? Yeah, combined.
Like combined.
Right? And I was off by like 40 pounds.
Yeah, okay.
Which is like a bummer. But I'm just like, you know what?
The first one that you've ever done, you were off by 40 pounds by qualifying for nationals.
So it was one of those things that, I had it. That was the next goal I wanted to demolish, right? I felt like I've already demolished the first one I did with just becoming a powerlifter. This one, right, it became a huge thing is when I started getting, that terrible email saying like, hey man, this is going to be full. I can try to get you in, but it's going to be rough, right? So it's that waiting game. And I started missing my lifts, and I started becoming more stressed at work and then more stressed at the gym. It's because all I can think about in the back of my head is, well, I need to train. What if I don't get into this meet, right? Like now I'm killing myself to be in peak shape, physical condition for this meet. Yeah. And then, by out of the blue, I came into the gym. I went into the gym. And I had this one guy. His name is Colton. He just, I just saw him. Like I walked in, I saw him, and I haven't seen him in almost 2 years since I moved here, right? The last time he saw me, I was near, it was almost 100 pounds lighter or heavier last time I saw him. And then he did not recognize me one bit because he came up to me because, I approached my friends. And then, he came up to me like with this arm sticking out, his hand sticking out. I was like, hey man, my name's Colton. And I was like, Colt, like I know you. And he's like, it's Mark. And he's like, what? He's like, you used to spot me with my deadlifts. And he's like, and he just took a step back. And he's like, it's not me bragging, but he did not physically remember what I looked like because I was a bigger dude. And I was,
It's
Yeah.
so fucking cool, man. It really is so
Yeah,
cool. Like,
because
gives me
he came up
goosebumps.
and he
Like,
was like,
it's so
"What the
badass.
flying fuck, dude? He's changed." And he gave me a hug, as sweaty as he was, and he gave me a hug, and I was like, "Yeah, man, it's been a while." And I told him the little goals that I've obtained and reached for myself, and then he was just like, "Dude, that's awesome." And then it came to that, he's like, "What's next?" That's what he asked me. He's like, "What's next?" And I told him about what's gonna happen next week, right? And then he was just like, "Dude, that's tough." But look at it this way. And this is a piece of advice from a guy that doesn't compete anymore. And he was like, I've been in this game for a long time. You just started. And so a little piece of advice that you want to take away from this conversation that we're having is you want to finish the race and finish it strong than you entering this race now and then half-assing it because all the stress and all that and all that damage that you've already done to yourself just trying to reach it, right? Because now I'm playing catch up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he told me, he's like, there'll be other meets, there'll be other qualifiers. You have the whole year. You just don't want to wrap yourself around this one, and then you get shafted, and that will take you a few steps back. Trust me, everybody has that same feeling. When
Yeah.
you miss something, you're gonna you feel like you let yourself down, especially that like at this rate that I'm going at, I'm definitely gonna let myself down. So I had a hard week to think about it, and I realized I'm like, you know what, there's other options, right? So I looked around, in my federation, and I was like, look, there's this perfect meet. It gives me the solid new training plan that I already made for myself after this meet. So I'm like, I can use that and really, really hone in and build a stronger foundation for myself to do this meet towards the end of the year. And look, it's one of those meets that it will help me qualify for nationals next year. It's not going to be like that instant, like, oh, I get to go with all my friends this year, but I can go and support them if I have the time to. But this is in line for not just my own happiness, but for my health and everything that goes beyond that. Because now I can take the full time and not just trying to bring it up and like trying to crunch it all together, and hopefully I can get this. So for me, that was a huge sacrifice that I had to make for myself, that, well, I need to let this one go because, the like what I heard this week was like the craziest thing when I was thinking about all this. It was just like, there was this rapper had this crazy interview. It was like, well, it's a laid back interview. He's like, what's the best advice you've ever listened to? He's like, what if the next one could be better? He's like, what's the worst advice you've ever listened to? It's like, be realistic. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, well, being realistic isn't the worst advice for me. It was like the strongest. I'm like, because it's gonna hurt me in the end goal by next week, right? And then
I was just thinking that that is exactly the opposite of what I would have. If I had to give those answers,
and that's what
in
hit
line, I would
me
have said
during
them in
that.
exactly
It's just
the
like,
opposite
whoa. I mean,
fashion.
people think about it differently, but that hit me like a no. And I'm like, well, now it's like by chance, right? I looked at this other meet. I'm already committed to one, and I wanted to have one in the middle, just to see where I'm at, right? Like my milestone, see where I'm at. And as by fate, someone reached out to me about this meet that's possibly in LA. That'll be fun. It'll be a fun trip. At that same exact moment, like, I get an email and a text message from the meet director. He's like, hey, I found a spot for you. And I'm like, and it's one of those things that I thought I was going to stress about it, and I wanted to call you about it, but it was already late at night last night. And I just let him know.
Right.
And it felt like so much weight lifted off me, even more weight than me squatting. And it's just one of those things I had to let him know. I was like, hey, I appreciate for all the work that you tried to put in to get me on this meet, but, sadly, I'm going to decline. I'm already committed to another meet, and I'll see you in October, because he's also running that meet in October. And he's like, you know what? That's totally perfectly fine. We'll see you at nationals in the future. And I was like, yo, it felt so good just for him to say that. And, it felt good for me because that was a huge thing,
Right. Absolutely. Well, it is. I'm super proud of the fact that you've gotten to a place where you realize that just because something is immediately shiny and it's there and it's attainable doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that that's the thing that you should be reaching for. This goes back to what you were just talking about with what the rapper had said, right? What's the best piece of advice you've ever heard? What if the next could be better? And then what's the worst piece of advice you ever heard? Be realistic. Okay. The reason why I would swap those around in my mind. Most people, I firmly believe this, most people have a trouble with reality because of the fact that they have difficulty with honesty. They have difficulty with actually assessing their limitations and actually taking the time to understand who they are, why they have those limitations, how they can conquer them. They don't look their fear in the eye. They run from it with hope. They use hope as a thing to battle it, right? This is where the idea of, well, what if the next one could be better? That is fully focused on hope. And now hope is not a bad thing. But when you use that as the platform to develop who you are, it is an incredibly fragile thing. Hope is not something that you want to build yourself on. Reality, honesty, truth. These are the platforms that I think that you want to build yourself on. Intelligence, rationale. You want to be able to say, without a shadow of a doubt, yeah, the next one could be better, and the next one will be better, but this one is still great, right?
Yeah.
And then move to the next thing. Maybe it's not great, but act as if it is great. Well, that's not right. Not act as if it's great.
Yeah.
But while you're in the making of it, make it great, right? Make it the best that you can do every time that you do it. And then when you get to the end, if it's not something, this is the other problem of having the expectation of what it is that you're achieving or the thing that you're achieving, relying on the judgment of others to dictate whether or not it's great, right? What if the next one could be better? Okay, if that's a personal perspective, like you create this thing and then you look at it and you go, I could do better than that. That's honesty, right? But if you make this thing and you're proud of it and somebody else goes, that's not that great, it could be better. And you let that bring you down, and that's right. That's dangerous, right? Then you're chasing the dragon. Now you're chasing the approval of someone else, and you might never get that goal, right? Or if you do catch that goal, it's going to be fleeting at best. It's not going to be something that lasts forever because people are fickle, right? And I think that the reason that the worst piece of advice, right, the be realistic part, I think that why people think that is because when they are realistic with themselves, it's such a foreign concept. It's so foreign to be honest about your own limitations and in the way that you see the world that it's limiting for people. Like they feel fearful of it because they realize that they are only human. They can only do so much, right? And instead of dealing with that, instead of saying, okay, I'm only human, but maybe I could be better than the rest of the humans around me, or maybe I could be a version of myself that isn't held back, not because I have this mad hope. I have this mad sense of like I can overcome anything, right? Maybe it's born out of I am strong enough to overcome whatever is in front of me because I know at the center of my core that I am the most important thing, right? It sounds like it's difficult to explicate this without making it sound selfish, but when you use yourself as the platform to build yourself up as opposed to ignoring the problems that you have, ignoring the limitations that you have, when you can accept those things and you can work to change them and then you can use them as a sort of power, as a sense of accomplishment, you wind up in a completely different place, I think, where you can use that realisticness, you can use that authenticity to propel yourself forward and to really grab onto shit. Like, that is exactly what it sounds like with your going through this motion of you could hope, right? You could rely on hope and say, I hope that when I go to this meet, I'm not going to hurt myself. I hope that I'm going to pull this weight and it's going to be better than I've ever pulled. I hope that I'm going to be better. It doesn't matter whether or not physically I'm ready for it. Right. I am mentally going to ignore the weaknesses that I have, and I'm going to fucking do it anyways.
Dangerous part.
That's dangerous. That is how you hurt yourself. Right. That is how you hurt yourself. That's exactly what he said. That mindset is radical, and it will harm you most likely at some point, and it might harm you in a way that becomes detrimental. It might harm you and set you 6 steps back. There's a cost to living with that risk, right? Or you could do what you did and say, as hard as this is, to look at the reality of the situation and say, I'm not ready for this, right? To judge yourself and say, honestly, with the levels of stress that I'm dealing with the way that my body has been thrashed around for these last 8 weeks, I haven't been able to give myself the proper time to grow into this and to be where I need to be in order to compete. And to do that genuinely and not go, oh, well, you're just being a bitch, right? Like, you're being weak. Like, you can push through it, I think is a huge point of growth. I think it's an absolute oneness with your reality, with being honest with yourself and saying, I have limitations. That's not going to stop me. I'm not going to set this aside and I'm not going to not pick it back up again. I'm going to say, I'm unable to do this right now, but I'm going to do it, right? Set the next goal date, right? You didn't even think about it. As soon as we had that conversation like a week and a half ago, you already, before you even made that decision in your mind of this is like, I can't do this thing, we're already looking at what the next thing is that I can do. And you were signed up for it as soon as you could be, right? There's a difference in that mindset. You didn't do that out of fear. You didn't do that out of a sense of failure or that I'm not going to be ready because I'm weak or whatever. You did that with a sense of purpose of, I'm not ready for this, but I will be, right? It was out of a sense of honesty. It was out of a sense of courageously being able to look at yourself. And whether that's blown out of proportion for people or not, I really don't give a shit. It really is what it is being able to openly and honestly consider the shit that you're doing at a deep personal level and not giving a fuck what anybody else thinks, right? Like having that conversation with that director and saying, you know what, man, I appreciate the effort. I appreciate you putting in this time, but I'm not ready for it right now. And I'll see you. I'll see you again soon. You could be damn sure I'm going to be there, but I'm just not ready for it right now. That's understanding who you are. That's what the fuck we're here for. I was like, if you've got a problem with that, if you think that is weakness, that you're in the wrong place. I strongly urge you to please exit stage left because this is not going to be a podcast that you're going to enjoy. Really, it won't be. But yeah, man, I don't know. I have a huge sense of pride for the fact that you're willing to set aside what most people would consider to be. I was on Instagram earlier today, and there was this post of like, the next time you think of skipping leg day, listen to this. And it was like this guy in the background, and he's like, when you wake up, tell yourself you're a bitch. When you eat breakfast, tell yourself you're a bitch. When you go to lunch, tell yourself you're a bitch. When you go to sleep, tell yourself you're a bitch, right? And people operate like that. They really do. They walk through the world, and they're like, man, I'm just being a bitch. That's why I don't want to do anything. I'm just being weak. I'm just being a girl. I'm just being, I'm going to say this, and I'm saying it not to offend anyone in any way, shape, or form. I'm doing this to exaggerate a point. I'm being, right, this is the problem that we have with LGBTQ, right? I'm being gay, right? You assign these things as points of weakness. That somebody that comes out as being gay, that's a point of strength, right? I don't care what the rest of the world thinks. I care who I am, right? There are so many things in this world that people utilize as a point of, I'm being weak. I'm being less than. I'm being this. And in order to do this thing, I have to sack up. I have to be better. I have to ignore my emotions. I have to ignore my limitations. Instead of going, man, why do I have these limitations?
Right.
Like, why do I feel so inept? Why do I think that I'm so weak? Like, why do I have all these negative emotions about who I am floating around in my head? Right? You talk to people and they're like, I ain't a bitch. I don't think like that. Well, why not? Are you afraid? Like, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of being yourself? Are you afraid of introspectively thinking about who you are? Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you go through the mindset of you're a bitch your entire life, you're going to wind up being a bitch. Like, it's just, you can't tell yourself something for your whole life and then expect it to change.
Dude. Yeah. And that's the most dangerous part. Yeah, that's the dangerous mindset. Like that walk isn't like, because you're setting it in stone that you're not going to be this thing, and you become the exact opposite, or it's self-taught, or you're literally training yourself. Like, I can just see now, which is sad, but like, it's not the people that I know, but the people I come across sometimes. It's like, they have that type of mindset, especially like when it comes to like some like, the place that where I'm at, like, like the sport that I'm in. It's like you see more than like half the population of this community that I'm in. This is an amazing community, right, for powerlifting. But for people in general, like, they come off as like, they had that mindset. And sometimes it flips on, or you see it for a little bit, then you realize, like, this is the person that, they're going to live it this way. And they're gonna start walking that line of like, I'm gonna push through it. I'm gonna push through my emotions. I'm gonna do this because I'm invincible, right? And then at the end of the day, it's like, well, what happened? He's like, oh man, I tore a meniscus. I did this. I didn't think about it through. I'm like, well, you did think it through, because you pushed that all aside, and you stuck on that one mindset, and you became that. So yeah, I see it more than
I was like,
on occasion, and it's sad. It's sad, but it's crazy. But I hope it can. Hopefully,
it
that
can be used. It can be used as a tool.
But,
It's not all bad, right? Like, I think that David Goggins has got an incredibly good approach to this most of the time. Again, if you're calling yourself whatever word, right? If you're calling yourself weak, and you're being honest. If it is an honest assessment of, I could do this thing, right? When I'm out doing my conditioning, I could do this conditioning. I could complete this task, but I am tired and I do not want to do this thing, is drastically different from wake up in the morning and say that I am weak in order to confuse myself into believing that I am strong, right? The strength comes from the honesty. It comes from the real ability to look at your situation and say, I can be more than this. Why am I giving up now? That is a recognition of real weakness and an overcoming of that weakness. There is strength in that. If you walk up to a bar and you go to deadlift it, and you're looking at 600 pounds, you never lifted 600 pounds before, but you are confident in the fact that you have done everything up to this point to lift 600 pounds. You are healthy. You are in good shape. You're mentally prepared. And you have, right? I wouldn't ask Theron to walk up to a 600-pound deadlift and try and yank it, right? He's not prepared for that. He hasn't done any preparation, and he would probably hurt himself. If he walked up and went, I'm a bitch, I can make this work, and then blew out a disc, right? That's a stupid move.
Yeah, right?
But I wouldn't be scared of putting you up on a 600-pound bar, because I know that you would go, I could do this or I can't. And if you couldn't, you'd walk away from it. But that's because you have the education, you have the training, you've made the preparation, you've taken the time to be honest and understand what it is that you're trying to do. There is strength in that. There is strength in the knowing, and then that's when you should risk it, right? Yeah, maybe I can only lift 560 pounds. But you know what? I think confidently that I can do this, and honestly, I can do this without injuring myself. Maybe you go for it then. That's a risk that is a risk that makes sense. That is a risk that is worth taking, especially if it is something that would bring you a sense of real accomplishment, a sense of real peace. if you're doing those things for the right reasons, hit that 600-pound bar, right? But if you're just walking up to brag about it, if you're risking your health and your welfare to brag about it, why would you do that? Why are you doing that? That doesn't make any fucking sense. You could possibly injure yourself for a lifetime for a moment of glory, right? For some people, that's worth it. I don't think that it is. I think that you're here for, luckily right now with the technology that we have, 80 to 85 years. If you're riding your entire 85 years on one moment, you have a fucking serious problem with your perspective. You really do. And you should work towards changing that perspective. You should work towards shifting what you value and why you value it. And you should really take some time to look introspectively at who you are and why you believe the things that you do. Because somewhere along the way, you've been lying to yourself. I guarantee you that you have. Or you just haven't actively been looking out into the world. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit too judgmental, but that's what at least at this moment in time, that's what I fervently believe. So,
yeah. Well, and this is what's great about it, right? It's just one of those things. Like we're slowly starting to become more established with this podcast, and this podcast is the most realistic that we can be, right? We're sharing our emotions, we're sharing our thoughts. If you have a problem with it, like what Alex said, take stage left, and this won't be for you. But if you're honestly ready to listen, like for us, because we're listening to ourselves. Like I'm listening to Alec, right? And Alec listens to me. It's just one of those things. We're trying to help each other out. So maybe there's a spec that it might help you out, right? Because at the end of this day, as in the grand scheme of things, me and Alec and I, we're doing this for ourselves 100%. To become better, right? This is the teacher-student effect, right? Because there's things that Alec learns from me, and there's a lot of things that I learn from Alec, and it's just one of those things that it goes back and forth, and it's this conversation that we're gonna have for decades. So, for all the viewers that are listening right now, if you want to tune in and enjoy this conversation and stick around for the ride, then great.
It's only gonna get better.
It's one of
it's
those
only gonna
things
get better from here.
It's only
more
gonna get better.
Introspection, the more honesty,
the next time,
the more conversations. It's only gonna get better.
So maybe the next time you see us, we're in the same state, or we'll work up to be in the same state, or have a fucking production company doing this. We have more people, but it's just one of those things that it's only going to get better in time. And with that, what our judgment is now and what we think of these things now can drastically change. Who knows, right? This is not scripted. We say all the vowels, and we pop in our filters, but it's just one of those things. Like if you're willing to listen to that, and you oh man, hey, at the end of the day, hey, they sparked something in me, and I want to move. Then, dude,
I mean, that's what we're
awesome.
Here for. I mean, this is we came from the same resources. We came from people, from listening to people talk about the fact that there's someone out there that gives enough of a crap about you, that wants to share their story, that wants to say, hey, I know that you're in a bad place right now. I've been there myself. This is how I got out of it. And you can. If you really work at it, you really can get out of it. I want you to get out of it. I care that you get out of it, right? That was so huge for me to hear those words for the first time. For me, it was 12 Rules for Life, the book by Jordan Peterson. And it was the chapter, I think it was chapter 2. It was 2 or 3. And there was a rule in there that was basically the golden rule flipped on its head, right? The golden rule being treat others how you want to treat yourself, or how you would treat yourself, right? Biblical. And it was a reversal on that. It was treat yourself how you would treat others, right? And the idea behind that being, how can you possibly treat people in the world like you would want to be treated if you don't understand how to love yourself? Right? How can you bring love to the world if you can't find it where you are? That changed my life. I literally started fucking crying when I read that the first time, because it unlocked something so deep inside of my own psyche about, I was constantly trying to change the world around me. I was so wrapped up in all I want to do is save the world. All I want to do is make people's lives better. And I'm so confused as to how to do that because they're hopeless. Every time I try and help someone, they spit it back in my face. Every time I give someone advice, they don't take it. Every time I offer myself to the world, it shuns me away. But I realized throughout this entire journey, throughout figuring out how to love myself, that when you are able to do that thing, when you're able to really figure out who you are and why you are and do it with grace and dignity, people gravitate towards that. They ask you questions. They want to listen. They want to understand because they see the action in your life. They see the results, and you're not just saying things to them like, man, you're doing it wrong. This is how you do it better. Nobody responds to that. Nobody wants to respond to that. They don't want to get called out on their shit by someone and then get told by somebody else who's in an equal station, like, you could be doing it better this way. You want to get advice from people who have figured it out. You want to get advice from people who understand what they're talking about. And you have to be willing to seek that. You can't just force it on people.
Yes.
This is what this is. This is what this is for Mark and I, right? Like he said, student, teacher, teacher, student. I've learned so much. I've learned so much about myself from having conversations with Mark over the last couple of years, and vice versa, man. We have helped each other grow so much farther than we would have ever been able to do alone. And I think that genuinely, whether or not people tune into this for advice or whether they just tune in as friends or family to listen and just kind of hear about our lives, cool. Whatever it is. But I really, really, really do think that what we're talking about is worth listening to. It's worth taking in. These are lessons that have worked for us. They're things that are valuable in our lives that have made a fucking real difference. And not just in my life or Mark's life, but in the lives of people around us. I mean, I come across people on a daily basis at this point that are like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud to know you. Like, I'm so proud to be your friend. I love that, like, I get to be a part of your life, and I get to be better with you. I get to watch you grow. Like, people see these things, and they want more of them for you. And that is what we want. That's what we want to do, is we want to bleed that lesson out into the world and let people gravitate towards it. And like Mark said, we could be wrong, and these things aren't in stone. It's not scripted, right?
Yeah.
Like,
definitely not scripted, but
it's the best. It's the best. So. It's the best that we have for you right now, and we're gonna keep working at it. We're gonna keep reading. We're gonna keep growing. We're gonna keep sharpening and honing our edges, and we're gonna keep paying attention and being honest. And when we fuck up, we'll tell you. And maybe you can avoid those fuck-ups. Maybe you can avoid those pitfalls. Maybe our inexperience, our inability, our like non-Zen, non-Jordan Peterson, I'm not 60 and with a PhD and 30 years of clinical and professorial experience. Maybe that lack of an edge is what will be able to show you that there's a better way of going about that than what we did. Maybe our mistakes will bring forth some answers for you. So we're going to burn some bridges. That's the whole fucking point. And then we're going to talk to you about them. And then hopefully you don't make the same stupid mistakes. You probably will, dude, because we all do.
And then make sure, if you need to take something away from this, fold your fucking laundry or hang that shit up, dude.
Don't fold it.
I'm just saying.
Oh, I just got. Yeah. Oh, I finally did it, Mark.
Just saying.
I finally did it. I bought all nice wood steel hangers. I'm an adult. I'm an adult. Oh, shit, I'm officially an adult. I bought 60 of them the other day.
I'm giving you that. I'm giving you that, dude.
That was $100. I'm swapping out all my clothes right now, and I'm like,
there you go, dude.
This is the mark of.
Once you have matching hangers, yeah, dude. Once you have matching hangers and then you organize it, color court. Oh, shit, daddy.
Yep. I'm about to.
Fuck the laundry when you got that. Oh,
yeah, right. Yeah, it's like too sweet.
Yeah,
all right,
dude.
Let's wrap this up.
It was great, guys.
People are tired of listening to us at this point.
All right, dude. Well, it's been a good one. Until next time.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. See ya, everybody.
Oh, wait, before this. Hey, guys, if you guys get that chance, though, Alec forgot about it. I didn't forget about it. This is also our path to, you better go run and grab that Johnny Walker Blue. It's probably in a box somewhere, but
it's too far
we'll
away.
get there one day.
It's too far away, but Imagine I'm holding a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue right now. Okay, this is not a paid advertisement, but it is absolutely an advertisement. This is the most delicious and sensual bottle. Dude, Jesse tried it for the first day the other day, or the first time yesterday. He's never had it before. I thought he was going to fall down.
Oh shit! See,
he drank it and he was like, "This is incredible."
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, and there's more stuff better than that, dude.
Mark,
I'm just saying,
Mark,
it's just stepping stone.
My fridge makes round ice cubes.
Get the fuck out.
I've got.
All right, guys, we're gonna tune out so we can talk about this. We'll probably bring it up next podcast, but see you guys.
See you, everybody.